Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into an idea that could completely change how you think about learning. We're talking about the essence of true learning power. And let me tell you, it goes way beyond just getting good grades. So let's get right into it. So let me start with a question for you. When you picture a really powerful learner, what do you see? Is it that straight-A student, the one who just aces every single test? You know, for a long time, that was the gold standard. But what if I told you that's not the whole picture? Not even close. Now check this out. This quote is from a pretty surprising person, Lu Lan, the author of the work we're digging into today. This is someone who was the top scorer in China's ridiculously competitive college entrance exam. I mean, he was basically a professional good student. And yet, he says his most important learning happened after all that. That creates this really interesting question. If being the best student isn't the key, then what is?
And that brings us to our first big idea, what we can call the straight-A student myth. We really need to unpack why the skills that make you a star in the classroom don't always translate to success out there in the real world.
This slide really gets to the heart of it. See, school problems are neat and tidy. They're designed to have one standard correct answer. They're all about testing how well you can listen, memorize, and repeat information back. But life's problems, well, they're messy. They almost never have a single right answer. They demand you to think on your feet, to adapt what you know, and to apply it to situations you've never seen before. Being a genius at one doesn't automatically make you good at the other.
Okay, so if the goal isn't just to memorize a bunch of answers, then what is it? Let's try to come up with a new definition for what effective learning actually looks like.
Here it is. Truly effective learning isn't about collecting facts that other people give you. It's a two-step dance. First, you have to form your own reference answers, your own mental models for how the world works. And second, and this part is absolutely crucial, you have to apply them to make a real positive change in your own life. It's not about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know.
We can break this down into 4 dimensions. Now that straight-A student we talked about, they have mastered step 1, listen. They can take in information and repeat it back perfectly. But real, lasting learning power, that's built in the other 3 steps. Thinking for yourself, adapting the ideas to your own life, and finally, using it to make a difference. The big question to ask yourself is, are you moving beyond just listening?
So with this new framework, we can actually start to categorize learners into 4 very different types. Let's see how this new way of looking at things can help us understand our own learning habits.
This whole idea is based on how we use our time. We can spend time on production, creating immediate results. We can spend it on consumption, which is all about immediate enjoyment. We can spend it on investment for that long-term growth. Or, well, we can just waste it. And learning, it turns out, can fall into any of these categories.
First up, we have the consumer learner. This is when learning feels more like entertainment. Like listening to a fascinating podcast while you're doing chores. It feels good, doesn't it? You get this little rush from hearing new ideas, but you don't really plan on doing anything with them. The goal is just that pleasant feeling in the moment. Sound familiar? Yeah, we've all been there. Then there's the production learner. This person looks incredibly busy. They might read a book and crank out a summary every single day. They are definitely producing something, but it's often just low-level repetition. They're kind of on a treadmill, creating stuff, but not fundamentally changing how they think or what they can do.
And that brings us to the hero of our story, the investment learner.
Now, this kind of learning, it might not have a big flashy payoff right away. It's the slow, deep work of rewiring your brain, of transforming your mental models, and building a foundation of capability that's going to pay off for years and years.
So, to put it simply, the goal for all of us should be to become an investment learner. This is the mindset that really fuels real sustainable growth. This is where the magic happens.
So how do we actually do it? What does an investment learner look like in the wild? Well, let's open up their playbook and take a look at the 4 key ingredients.
These 4 hallmarks are really the dimensions of powerful learning. You've got length, which means learning that lasts a lifetime. Width, learning from absolutely everything. Temperature, making knowledge warm by actually using it. And strength, having a solid, repeatable method.
To understand length, you don't have to look much further than Warren Buffett. His partner, Charlie Munger, pointed out that deep into his 90s, Buffett is still actively getting better. For an investment learner, learning isn't just a phase you go through in school, it's just how you live, for your entire life.
And for wit, just take in this incredible quote from the philosopher Wittgenstein. He wrote this to a student while he was in a war zone. Even in the middle of all that horror, he saw it as a classroom for understanding humanity. Investment learners don't just learn from books, they see the entire world, every experience, as a source of wisdom.
And here's Wittgenstein again on temperature. This is so important. He's asking, what's the point of all this abstract knowledge if it doesn't actually touch your real life? Investment learners make knowledge warm by connecting it to their own problems and their own decisions. It's the essence of a concept called shui yi ji yang, which basically means learning for the sake of using.
And finally, there's strength. This is not about just randomly learning things here and there. The most powerful learners have a system. Think about Charlie Munger with his web of mental models, or Elon Musk, who constantly breaks problems down to their most basic truths. That system is what gives their learning real force and consistency.
Okay, so we get it. We understand the myth of the straight-A student, and we have this ideal of the investment learner. So how do we actually get from here to there? Let's look at the toolkit you can start using right now.
The path forward really involves these 5 core disciplines. Anti-learning is just about being humble enough to get rid of ideas that don't work. Reference answer thinking is about building your own frameworks. Focus means going deep, not just wide. Pattern learning is about seeing the hidden structures. And deep transfer is about taking those patterns and using them everywhere. Every single one of these is a skill you can build.
And that brings us to the end. But it's really a beginning, isn't it? You just spent a few minutes consuming this information. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a question that gets right to the heart of everything we've talked about. What will you do right now to turn this from a nice consumption activity into a true investment? How will you apply it?